IGN caught up with founder and CEO of Epic Games, Tim Sweeney, and EVP of Development, Marcus Wassmer, at Unreal Fest 2026. We talked about performance optimization with the upcoming UE6 and how it could change game development, as well as the increasing cost of hardware and the current struggles across the games industry with studio closures and games shuttering. We also discussed the controversial use of AI in game development when it comes to artistic value and its real-world impact in light of Unreal Engine's updated AI tools. So many of the biggest games are built on Unreal, so check out our recaps of the State of Unreal keynote to see where games are going in the future as you stick with IGN. Now, here's our interview.
I think it's two things. Like one, as you say, just like efficiency of development. Like games are getting bigger, games are getting more difficult. So like all the architectural work we're doing on the engine should just smooth things out. Not to mention, like AI creation flows. We showed some demos today. Really should take a lot of the tedium out of game creation. Let people just actually focus on the creative part, which would be really nice. And then the really cool thing will be I think we're kind of inventing a new kind of economy here, hopefully with the interconnected, interoperable assets like between games, which I think is, I don't know if it's never been done, but I haven't seen it done at scale, at least anyway. But
yeah, I'm really looking forward to the increased simplicity. I wrote the first generation Unreal Engine, and with every generation, out of necessity of taking advantage of new features of hardware and expanding the engine's capabilities, we've made the engine progressively more and more complicated with every generation, to the point where it's like somewhat daunting to open up Unreal Engine 5 and look at the 5-level nested menus in some cases. And the C++ programming model really requires expert level programming. The great cleanup in Unreal Engine 6 is to adopt diverse scripting language that we've been pioneering in Fortnite with the Fortnite creator community, and bring that into UE6 as the primary way to develop gameplay code. So it brings the ease of development of and ease of programming that you have in an engine like Unity or Godot, together with the full power of UE6, and on the high-end AAA feature sets, and to tame complexity of the engine, the ability to prompt a lot of different systems and have it help you create a particle system and tweak it, enable you to focus on the details that really matter rather than the boilerplate of creating redoing the same rote actions over and over. It's going to be really freeing. I think it'll bring back some of the magic that we had in earlier days, and some of the magic that each engine had in its first few years before each engine grew more complex. Is that it's just of making it really easy to create stuff, and giving the user an immense amount of creative freedom and the feeling that they can exercise it pretty easily without going off and spending hours or days on tutorials and learning.
I think we've actually been addressing it through 5.7 and 5.8 even, and I think the trend will continue through 6. We're a game developer too. Fortnite players have the same issues as anyone else, and we try to scale, from mobile all the way into high-end PC. So you see initiatives we have, like you saw Lumen Light on stage, as an effort to kind of bring the costs of Lumen down to be accessible to more people for global dynamic illumination. We were showing off, mesh terrain, where you can see where new features we're building. That thing is built inherently to scale from nanite to non-nanite platform. So when it cooks down for a non-nanite platform, it just cooks down to regular meshes that should run really efficiently and more efficiently than the old landscape system in most cases. So it's really on our mind. I think you can see games lag a little bit in shipping on engine releases. But as more games kind of hit that 5.7 and 5.8 mark, I think you'll already see a trend toward efficiency. And then just I don't know, we have a ton of stuff in the pipe as we progress towards UE6, and that's going to land in the engine as well.
Yeah, it's the cumulative set of optimizations that have been done. We've Fortnite back on mobile, we're putting a lot of effort into optimizing the engine for, so that a developer can ship a game and run on everything from the highest end hardware all the way down to, low end Android and several-year-old iPhones. And we've also come to an increasing appreciation over time of the need to make the engine automatically scale much more of the content in the game. It's always been the case that with enough effort and trickery, a developer could make their game run well on low-end devices. But the more our systems like Nanite can automatically scale, the better, and that's going to be a source of ongoing attention.
Yeah, and I think on top of that, just even more directly, I think we're going to continue to see just like small teams being able to punch above their weight. You take a look at Clair Obscure and just today, No Law getting shown off of really small teams doing really, really impressive stuff. I think you're only going to see that trend kind of accelerate as we go towards the UE6 era.
Well, it's an unfortunate and completely unexpected event that AI would surge so much and to place so much competitive pressure on memory prices and everything, to the point where it's significantly affecting costs of gaming hardware. I think it's a temporary effect, but it is temporary over the next 2 or 3 years. I'm sure throughout Asia there are massive fabs being built to manufacture memory at scales that will eventually relieve the supply pressure. In the meantime, we're going to have to be judicious and spend more time optimizing and less knowing that we can count less on Moore's law to solve our problems for us, as the game industry has always done, with or without an intention.
I think its role is as a helper where it's useful, right? You go look back at code gen tools back in last November, they kind of weren't that great. Now they're pretty good, right? So you can pretty easily put them into engineering pipelines, right? I think the main thing is, you want to make sure to use AI to reduce all of the tedium, all the tedious tasks. I don't know, you don't need an engineer to go and spend half a day doing root cause analysis on a crash if you can, have a thing do that for you for 20 minutes and then tell them what's going on, and they can spend that time optimizing the engine instead, or helping a content creator out or whatever. So I think it's horses for courses, and there'll be places where it's not useful, there'll be places where it will.
Yeah, the whole space is moving so fast. We early on recognized that Epic should just broadly enable everybody to use the tools they prefer and to plug them into Unreal Engine in any way they want. And so we didn't go out to build the Unreal Engine coding model. Rather, we built an MCP server so that people could bring Claude Code or Gemini or whatever tool they prefer connected in. And every week or two, there's going to be new capabilities coming out. Lots of different companies competing, and we want to be able to support them all, and really put each game developer in charge of how they want to integrate the AI tools into their pipelines to get maximum usefulness out of it, and figure out what really gets acceleration maximized.
Sure. We're building all the pipelines in Unreal to maximally preserve artistic intent. You can see, we gave the demos. There was a video we did this morning. You can see every step of the way our intention is whatever gets built is a real Unreal scene that people can tweak and make exactly the way they wanted it to be, rather than just typing into the prompt and trying a million times to get whatever pops out, right? It's really meant to help people explore creatively more quickly, and then settle in on the details of what they actually want, and then do the tweaks they need by hand, right in the engine. So for us, it's human control all the way through the pipeline.
Yeah, exactly that. And gaming has always been driven by great games built by great development teams, and that will continue to be the case. Every generation has had its way. It's stereotypical low quality games, from just plain old bad games to asset flips, and now we'll have AI slap. But in the hands of awesome professional creators and serious indies building a game, these tools are just an accelerant. And just as the industry moved from pixel art to Photoshop, and then from 2D to 3D, these are just going to be ways of making content more efficiently and avoiding the drudgery of hand wiring a giant blueprint and debugging really complicated problems in a program. I think that's for the model providers to sort out. Some of them are operating at a loss, such that there's actually a higher cost than they're charging, to try to grow their businesses. Then there are trade-offs between local AI and server-based hosted AI. I think the whole industry is going to have to sort that out as a whole. And our approach, Epic doesn't have billions of dollars to invest in building a leading-edge model to compete with these things. So what we can do is build an awesome MCP interface so that every one of them can talk to our engine and so on. And then I think developers and the market and are going to ultimately sort that out. I think there's plenty of incentive for everybody to do these things efficiently. Cost is going to be formidable when you're using a leading edge model at its maximum capability. And optimizing that is going to be a first class objective for everybody. You can't say that this is the first time the industry has gone through a shakeout, because there have been many before. I was a young gamer in the 1980s when the Atari crash happened, and then I was a game developer and in the transition from 2D gaming to 3D, when suddenly a lot of the games at the time that were being built ended up not finding a market for them. And then BitTorrent hit the industry pretty hard too. There was a time when the industry rumor was that Crysis had sold 100,000 copies and that 10 million people had played it. And the solution to that was multifaceted. Every technology generation, whether it's 7 or 10 years, changes accumulate so much that the way people build games and play games changes. And the answer can't be that every generation we just spend exponentially more on game development, because the market doesn't always support that. I think we've seen some very specific problems with specific games. Sometimes a really big budget game shipped and wasn't very good and didn't sell, but much more often, and we've seen here with a bunch of the big multiplayer games, built a good game, but the market dynamics prevented players from coming in simultaneously with enough scale to make it viable. And that's why I was really talking about on Real Fast Talks. We should set aside like flukes where a game didn't meet expectations of gamers and just look at the more of the structural changes. And those are really appreciable. The fact that games are becoming increasingly multiplayer, and not just multiplayer but social, where you're getting together with your friends and then you're deciding what to do, what to play, how to play it. And the trend of the gaming economy shifting more and more, like some people like it and some don't, but more and more towards buying things in games rather than buying games. And in-game economy is driving gaming, especially at scale and especially over long durations, as you see with these long-lasting multiplayer games. You have much more of a winner-take-all phenomena. It's really, really hard for any new entrant to compete with an established game, even if it is incrementally better. And then, after years of established games continually reinvesting and making, their games better and better, it's hard for a new entrant to compete with a game that's had, many years of development and potentially billions of dollars of development investment going into it over time. With a small team building a small game. Those are the huge challenges, and those are generational, and they're in a different sort of challenges than we've seen in the past. Each of them was kind of an isolated problem that had a solution, and here the answer has got to be pretty broad change in the way that everybody goes about developing games. We've got to develop, better games more consistently, and we've got to develop them a lot more efficiently. The only way that we can hope for new games coming onto the market to be able to succeed when there's so much Metcalfe's Law in play and so much, so many captive audiences in the really big games, Fortnite and Roblox and PUBG Mobile and, a few other really huge ones. It's got to be that those games get momentum by connecting to the economies in other games. I think that can really reinvigorate the market if people are constantly looking to new games as sources of new items that they can own everywhere, and able to really easily move together with their friends. And I think it shouldn't be understated how badly broken the social ecosystem is in gaming as a whole. Most games now are broadly multi-platform. You have a lot of games that are across mobile, you have a lot of games that are across PC and console, and then you have games that are across all platforms, like Fortnite is, and Roblox is, where literally the game is on every platform everywhere in the world. For those to compete against that sort of thing, you've got to build games that run everywhere, and you've got to be able to have social connections that work everywhere. Like if you look at Epic and a number of other independent multi-platform game developers, we built social ecosystems for that. Your Fortnite friends are your friends across all platforms. You can connect with them, an iOS player, an Android player, an Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch player, and a PC player. We bled for that. We had a pretty big confrontation with Sony, in which we ultimately got it cross-platform play across consoles sorted out in 2018, and we're grateful for that, and the industry is better off for it. But still, most game developers are locked into these single platform ecosystems. Xbox voice chat doesn't chat with PlayStation voice chat, and Nintendo is a separate thing still. All these players in Steam can't talk to their friends on Xbox and PlayStation unless they're playing a big game that's developed at bespoke as a custom system. And so, one of the solutions to this has to be making social work across all platforms natively and naturally, and getting all the platform makers and all the big game makers to work together to make that happen. This is talked about in Unreal Fest, and I think it's in everybody's interest to do so, and massively so. I think every platform would have a lot more engagement, and every game ecosystem would have a lot more engagement if we connected things. Literally, I think Xbox, not just Epic, and name all the top game developers, Epic and Roblox, and Riot, Tencent and EA, all the different studios within Microsoft. We'd all be better off if we connected our stuff. And we'd all be making more money, and our gamers would be happier. So it'll be just a great outcome for the world.